Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about when software projects fail. Okay, so I hope you guys have had a great Easter, right? Easter holiday for us is kind of a strange one with half the team in the Philippines and here in England, because in England we get Thursday, or we get Fridays and Monday off. We get Easter Friday and Easter Monday, and in the Philippines they get Monday, Thursday off and Friday off, but they come to work on Monday. So like today is Monday, so they're working, and in the UK we're not, but I am because I always am. So anyway, I hope you had a great Easter, I guess is what I'm saying. So today I want to talk a little bit about failed projects, right? So I read somewhere once that like a large portion of software projects fail, especially in big, the big $1 million ones and the giant projects. There's a lot of failure in software development. Now for us, we haven't really had that many failures in terms of projects not completing, right? So, but it happens sometimes, right? So today it happened. So like for me, the only reason a project will fail, well, there's two reasons a project will fail. First, the client starts asking for more scope and we just can't do it, right? Either we have to release what we have, and that's never really happened. I mean, the client has never really, once we insist, we can't do any more. We could do more, but we have to charge more. We just can't keep adding scope onto it. And usually, it can get a bit heated, but usually it's fine after that. And the other thing is that I just quoted wrong. So like today, I had to tell a client that I just wasn't able to do something. And it was like, it's the worst feeling in the world. Because there's been times where I've lost lots of money on a project because I just would not admit defeat. Like I quoted way too low, and I'm sitting there in the middle of the night. I'm working on this thing 5, 6, 7 times, longer period of time than I've actually quoted for. So I had one of our client projects. We did this. It was a few years ago we did it, and they didn't have a back end, so it was like a small company. So they didn't want a back end. They didn't want the whole API and infrastructure, which would have made things easier. But they did want to use Dropbox. So we did an app that used Dropbox as the API, or as a back end. So we use Dropbox for authentication, for login, for storage, all that kind of stuff, and it actually works pretty well. It worked pretty well. But like at the beginning of this year. Last year Dropbox had brought in version 2 of their API, and then they deprecated at the beginning of this year, so it stopped working. So they came to us and said, everything stopped working, what's happened? And I looked at it and said, okay, we need to upgrade the API on this because it's been quite a while since we released it, and we just need to upgrade it to the new one. It should be fairly simple. I quoted, I think, I won't say how much I quoted, but I quoted, right? And then they said, actually, we would like to use this other backend because we don't use Dropbox that much. We would like to use this other backend, right? Which wasn't as mainstream as Dropbox, and it took a long time to get Dropbox working. To be honest, it took a little bit longer than I would have liked, but everything works. So I looked at it. I looked at the documentation of that API, of the other service API, and it wasn't that great, but it wasn't, there was documentation. So I looked at it, I just quickly looked at it and said, that would probably take a couple more days. It would cost this much. So I said, actually, so let's do that. Rather than just go to version 2 of the Dropbox API, let's go to this other system, right? Now, once I started doing this, and this was another one, because, like I said, right now I consider a failed project one that I'm coding on, but this is one that I did all this code on, and I thought, it's best if I work on this because bringing someone in to learn everything else that was on that one, it would be quicker just for me to do it, which is a failure on my part, because if I keep thinking that way, I'm always going to be willing to do it. But I was working on this, right? And I said it would take like a day. No, I said it would take like 2 days, right? And I think I was working on this thing 5 days. I just could not get this API working, right? Now, I think if I had another 5 or 10 days, maybe I could have figured it out. It was one of these situations where you're just trying things. The documentation it doesn't say a lot, so you're making these HTTP calls. It's vague on some of the parameters, so you're just like you're trying all this different stuff over and over and over again, banging your head against the desk. And in the end, I just had to say, look, we're not going to be able to do that. Or we could do it, but I'm going to have to charge a lot more, and I've already quoted you. I really don't want to requote. I don't want to renegotiate anything. could we just go back to the version 2 of the Dropbox API? I'm terribly sorry. I'm not going to charge you for all this time that I put into this because that's unfair. The bad quote, that was on me. And and if I just kept doing it more and more, I would just be digging the hole even deeper. So I went to them and they said, we understand. Thanks for trying, because we worked really hard for them before. And every time there's a bug, we fix it. Sometimes, most of the time, I don't even charge. It's just like the bug, even though it's past the warranty, I'll still kind of do it because I'm nice and all this stuff. So they were very understanding, but it just made me feel ugh. So this was, and it happened once before where I had the same kind of thing where it was a project that interfaced with a WordPress site, with a WooCommerce WordPress site, and I was looking through the APIs and everything. I thought, I could do this, but I'll get someone in to do it. So I went on Upwork and I hired someone, and they, this is one of the reasons I don't like Upwork, because you go on Upwork and they say, oh yeah, no, I've worked with this before. Yes, I could do it. All this kind of stuff. So you ask a few questions. Okay, they seem confident. God, I don't know what I was thinking, right? And then like a few weeks later, I'm still waiting, and they're going, I don't think this could be done, right? So they just completely mess up the quote. I had to go back to the client and say, look, I'll give you your money back. I'm so sorry. It's going to take a lot longer than I thought. I misquoted it, right? And so of all the projects, it's only happened twice where we weren't able to finish it out of, I don't know, a few dozen projects. No, actually probably more than that. But it's just a bad feeling. So my question to you guys, for those of you who work on clients, have you ever been in that situation where you had to go back? I know I could have finished it if I put more time into it and just kept putting every single combination of variables into this API to find something that worked, but I just didn't have the time to do that, and it would have cost them a lot more. And that's, if I didn't stick to the original quote. And I always try to stick to the original quote, and that may be a bit naive on my part. So anyway, let me know what have you guys had this kind of situation, because I'd really like to know, make me feel a little bit better about myself. And that's it for today. I'll talk to you tomorrow.